Welcome to Groovy and Grails webinar series from jpassion.com. Today's topic is topic number 10, Grails Service. Okay, so let's start with the presentation. So we are going to learn what is and why you want to use a Grails service, and then we will see how we can create and then inject and use that service. And service actually has a built-in transactional feature built in. So we're going to actually see how we can actually take advantage of it. And we'll talk about service scope. And then we will see how you can actually expose your services to non-Grails or even the Grails and non-Grails application using various types of remoting technologies such as JMX, RMI, and SOAP, and things like that. So what is and why Grails services? So the motivation is that business logic should not be in the controller or tech live, because controller should be a very thin layer just for handling incoming requests and then the selecting a view. And the business logic should be in different place. Same thing with the tech live. Tech live should actually focus mostly on UI aspect rather than business logic. So Grails service is the place that you want to place your business logic. So the reasons that you want to use a Grails service is, again, separation of that business logic produces a cleaner code. And business logic, because it's encapsulated in a service, it could be reused in different places in your application. And as I said before, service has a built-in declarative transaction support. So transaction support is built in. You don't have to do anything specific. Just transaction support comes with a service. And it's very easy to inject a service in your controller and tech live or even your domain class. Just define a variable with the name of the service. That's all you have to do to inject that service and use that service. And we'll see that code in a second. So let's see how you can create and then inject and use a service. By the way, as a convention, the service class has to end with a service. So if you are building a sample service, that should actually end with a sample service. Typically, you are going to use a Grails command, Grails create service, and your package and the name of the service. Then it will create a sample service, Groovy, under services directory of your Grails app. And of course, you should have a package directory structure as well. So typically, you're going to use this command. You can manually create your service on the Grails app service directory if you want to. In that case, you have to make sure the name of the service class ends with a service like this. Okay. All right. So basically what Grails does is it scans the service directory and will consider any classes that ends with a service postfix will consider them as a services. Okay, so that's the way you are going to create a service. Now, how you're going to use that service. So first, you're going to inject that service and then use that service. So injection of that service is very simple. All you have to do is define a variable that has the name of the service. Okay, and then it's basically letting Grails frameworks to know that I like to actually Grails framework to inject the count service object so that I can use it right here in my code. So once it's injected, I can call the methods of those injected services. In this case, I can call transfer method and balances method of injected account service. So it's basically like auto wiring of the Spring framework, but it's a lot easier to use. Okay, so let's start our first exercise. So here we're going to actually, try to create account app application. And so I already created account app Grails project. And we're going to create a domain class. Okay, so I'm going to create a domain class, new, and domain class. and I'm gonna say com jpassion and account. And then I'm going to add two properties, account name and balance. And I'm going to specify constraints for account name is unique and it cannot be null. All right, so I'm going to just copy this code. Account domain class. Okay. And save the change. And then I'm going to create a controller class. So Grails, new controller, com jpassion and account controller class. And once the controller class is created, we are going to add the business logic to controller. Again, these are the business logic that we want to move to service later on. But for now, we are going to have this one as part of the controller. So the code is basically, we have a two public method, transfer and balances method. So transfer is basically getting amount of the transfer from the user, and then we are going to call two private methods. One is withdraw and the other one is deposit. So we are going to deposit first and then withdraw second. And of course you can see these deposit and withdraw has to be, these two methods should be performed in transactional manner. Because we have this code in controller, these two methods are not being invoked in transactional manner. So that's the problem that we're going to actually see later on. Okay, and then we want to see the balances. So withdraw method is basically getting the amount. We get the checking account, which is actually from, and we basically subtract the amount to be transferred from the account balance. And the deposit is actually depositing, so the opposite. Okay, and then the balance is just getting the balance. We get the checking account and savings account, and we just want to display it. Okay, so let's add this code to the controller. Okay, so added this code to the controller. And then we are going to modify Bootstrap Groovy file so that we can create two accounts. So as you can see, we create a checking account and initial balance is $1,000. And we also create a savings account and savings account balance is $500. Okay, so let's go to config and Bootstrap Groovy, and we want to add this code. So basically creating a two accounts, savings and checking and savings. Okay. And we have to import account class. Okay, so let's save the changes. And then we're going to run the application, and then we are going to actually see the balances, and we should actually see the balance. We should see the balance of $1,000 and $500. Okay, so let's run the application. And then we're going to perform transfer operation. So here we are going to call transfer method, and the from account is checking and to account is saving, and amount we want to transfer is $100. Okay, so let's see whether it's running. Okay, so we're going to wait a couple more seconds. And once that is done, the amount of checking account balance should be 900 and the savings should be 600. Okay. All right, so that's done. So let's, well, we can actually go to, we can just check the balances. So the balance is $1,000 and $500 as expected. And then we are going to transfer. So here, I'm gonna click this link, and as you can see, the checking balance is now $900 and savings balance is $600 as expected. So that's cool. All right. Now, as I said before, having business logic in the controller is not recommended practice. So we want to create a service and we want to move the logic of transfer and balances to service. So let's create a service. So you can actually create a service by calling create service and then specify the name of the service. Okay. So here, right click and new. And let's see whether we can find the service right here. And we're going to say com jpassion and account service. And basically, we want to move the business logic that we have seen in controller to the service. Okay, so that's what we want to do. So the logic we want to the transfer from the controller is again transfer, withdraw, and deposit, and balances. We want to actually copy all this code. So this is actually from the controller, and then we will change the controller. Okay. And then we are going to change our controller. So this is the way that you are going to inject account service. So only thing that you have to do is basically specifying a variable that names that service. Okay. So let's go to controller class. And we are going to remove all this. So I'm going to just copy this code. Again, the code is very simple. So here we inject the account service, and then we are going to call account service object transfer method, and then we pass the value. Okay, so from account, which is checking, and this is saving, and then we are going to convert the amount coming from the client to integer and pass it to transfer method that we have here. Okay. And then we direct balances. As far as the balances, we are going to just call balances method of the account service. Okay, so I'm going to just copy the